Hey, it's Strong. I have another movement of the day post for you. Today we're going to talk about wrists. So today's mod, we're going to run through a really quick self-assessment for your own wrist mobility, and then I will give you a couple of very quick drills. Now, most of the time we're not thinking about our wrists until they're already injured or in pain, as is the case for most things. And most of the time, a injury is not usually due to a direct, accident or trauma to whatever we've injured. It's usually something that's been building up over time through a lot of repetitive movement, incorrect movement, misalignment. And what do we do with our wrists all day? That's so common. It's the carpal tunnel syndrome from having our wrist inflection, typing all day, and now we have our phone, texting motion going on. So everybody needs to think about their wrist, and if you don't have any issues right now, think of this as a preventative drill. And then if you are actually already doing a lot of weight bearing exercises on your hands, like handstands and push-ups, or you're lifting weights, or you're playing golf or playing tennis, where you actually would have a special interest in increasing flexibility and increasing strength, think of this as a precursor, because we want to always remember have mobility before strength anyway. So now I did give you a drill before for your stretching of the wrists and the forearms, and that suggestion was that if you're at a car, you have a movement where you're stopped, to take one arm at a time. So in one position, you have the wrist on the seat and fingers pointing towards you, and you lean forward just slightly to feel that stretch all along here, where you can flip the hand, palms down on the seat, fingers still pointing towards you, and the more you kind of shift your weight back on this one, on this side, you'll feel that stretch. What we're going to do today is not as intensive as this, but before we run through anything where we're working a lot with our wrist, we want to actually just go ahead and get the blood flow going and warm them up by doing some rotations. And even though this seems like a very simple movement, please be mindful of rotating through the entire range of motion, and smoothly and evenly, and you're checking for any differences, which is fine, but any severe differences on each side, or any crunchiness or popping. And you could also do this palms together, interlaced fingers, and this actually gives a whole different feel to this. You can move it up, you can move it down, and just do that about for 60 seconds or 30. All right, self-assessment. We're going to go through 4 different ranges of motion of the wrist. So we're checking for, that where we're breaking at that wrist line, as opposed to the hand. Okay, so first thing we're going to check for is extension. So that's our push-up position, our palms away. So when our hands are extended, we want to have at least 70 degrees of extension range of motion. When you flip it to flexion, so palms facing towards you, we want to have about 80 to 90 degrees. Okay, and then we have 2 lateral movements. We have the radial movement, so thumb towards your radius arm bone, we want about 20 degrees. And then on the ulnar movement, so pinky side towards your ulna bone, we want about 30 to 50. So these numbers can kind of vary depending on what association is or textbook or whatever is writing about them. These are the numbers that make sense to me. So we'll run through them one more time. And remember, check both sides, because they could be different. And what you're looking for here is just a severe deviation from these normal ranges of motion. So for example, with the flexion, you know, a lot of people could go way beyond the 80-90 degrees and actually touch their forearm. We're looking for just at least 80-90 degrees. On the extension, we're looking for at least 70. On the radial, we're looking for at least 20. On the ulna side, we're looking for at least 30 to 50. So check those. And if you're clear, then we're good to go with the drill. We're gonna pray, okay? So what we're gonna do is put our hands together in prayer pose, but really make sure everything is in contact. We're gonna start from the top up, top and then go down. So put your hands in front of your face, okay? Keep a nice, you know, neutral shoulder, just don't be hiking it up. We'll start with an inhale, and as you exhale, okay, we're going to bring the hands down the center. And when you get to a point where your elbow is about in line with your wrist, this is where we're going to press even harder into the hand as we press out into our elbows. Okay, so oppositional forces there. And then keep going down as you do this. And at the part where you start coming apart, anywhere in your hand, okay, that's your in range of motion. You'll bring it up with an inhale and just bring everything together. So bring your elbows together and then repeat. Okay, now we're going to do an anti-prayer. So we're going to flip everything the opposite. So we're going to put our back of our hands together, and we're going to go from the bottom up. Okay, so but the same position with your shoulder, keep them nice and relaxed and down. We're going to take an inhale, and as we exhale, start bringing them up. Okay, and once again, once we're in line with the elbow and the wrist, this is where we're going to now press our elbows in together, and that's going to cause more pressure towards flexion here as we bring it up, and as we start to fall apart or move apart, that's your in range of motion there, and we'll bring it back down. Okay. So play with that. And again, just think of these as your preventative and precursor movements. We could do more intense flexibility and wrist strength building exercises down the line. Believe me, there is no end to all the things that you could do to help out your wrist, your fingers, your arm, your elbow. Everything is connected. Everything is connected. Okay, your wrist mobility is going to affect your squats. It's just the way it is. All right, see you next time. This is Jung signing off, reminding you to start where you are, do what you can, use what you have, and move something.